What is up, guys, and welcome back to another Odd Popcorn for that review. I'm Chris.
I'm Nick.
Guys, I am so excited to talk about this little movie we just watched. This was a surprise to both of us. This just came out of nowhere the other day. Saw something randomly about this being a surprise horror movie of, maybe one of the horror movies of the year, and particularly brutal. And so, anyway, we went and saw it on a whim just now. A little bonus video for the week, and man, what did you think about that?
I think this is my favorite horror movie I've seen this year. Do you
Yeah,
agree? Yeah, man.
yeah. I mean, for me, Talk to Me is really close actually,
Yeah,
but this is outstanding.
dude, like it ends a little ambiguously, but it gives you enough to like make your own conclusion about what's going to happen and everything. But
I
everything
thought
that
so.
yeah, and like it's I wouldn't say it's a slow start, but like it kind of it dude, I loved everything about it, honestly.
It's it's almost a little bit of a slow start, but not really. I was in there from the get go, but
But there were like so many times like when I guess like a kill scene or like a horror scene was happening, I was like, oh, okay, that just happened.
hmm
It
yeah.
gets you though, like multiple times throughout the movie with these little things. I'm like, oh, dang, okay,
I'm tempted to not spoil this at all. I really think you should watch this.
yeah.
It's I'll just say this, but if you don't want to know anything about this, I would just
Know that it is
catch
a
it. If this is
foreign film, so it is subtitled. It's
it is Argentinian,
Argentinian, yeah, so it's in Spanish.
so it's in Spanish, which I found it really easy to follow along with.
Yeah, yeah.
But man, yeah, if you don't want to know anything, and I kind of recommend going into it like that, I would just go watch this. If you can handle something that's very brutal and there's no silver lining,
Yeah.
but a lot of warn. I mean, you would know if you're the kind of person that's gonna enjoy this, but man, it's not just like brutal for brutality's sake. It's definitely like everything is to a point of like serving the purpose of the story. Uh, but
Yeah,
it is this
it's
is a possession movie, but man, what a breath of fresh air from
well,
The
yeah,
Exorcist.
yeah, and like even when we were talking about Saw, like there is brutality in this movie, but it's not just like to be gratuitous, like Saw kind of is with their movies, and like the brutality that happens is just so good. Like
And it's a
it develops the story.
multifaceted. It's brutal in more than one level. Like
Yeah,
it's brutally what you're seeing happen in front of you is brutal, but what you know this means, or what you know the emotions behind it, or the relationships behind these things, like they make you care about these people. You forget you're watching actors at all.
yeah,
It's very much like this is happening to real people.
because it's
But
not
yeah,
just like a possession movie. It is like that's the core of it is like a possession, but it's almost like an epidemic that happens with the
yeah,
possession.
almost like possession slash zombie slash um I almost think we're in like an alternate universe or an alternate timeline or something where this is happening and it's like a known thing because
Yeah.
they have like protocols for like if this starts to happen again. Well, that is not. I almost think that is what's going on. I
Mhm.
mean, because there's these. I wanted a little more clarification about this, and we're delving into more and more spoiler territory here. I don't know if I want to spoil the whole ending, but but there's like for one thing there's like some kind of contraption that I kind of wanted more clarification on.
Yeah.
But there's like this weapon that's meant to kill these things, but I don't know that I fully ever grasped what was happening. It looks like a telescope or like a some kind of instrument with I mean there's a pointy instrument, so I guess I get that to some level, but
You don't ever get to see how it works or anything. You just know
uh-uh.
that it's like part of this
They're
like
almost like vampire
process of
hunters.
yeah, exactly. It's like they call them cleaners. Like the possessed
hmm
people get cleaned out, and it's like something you got to put in a work order in type of thing, I guess.
And there's kind of a like a built-in like in-world language that they use about this, almost like how a lot of zombie movies. Not that this is a zombie movie, right? By any means, but like a lot of zombie movies will do. Instead of calling them zombies, they'll be walkers or they'll be whatever.
Mhm.
I can't think of them all off the top of my head. But so they call, and maybe this is a cultural thing, but they call them rotten. And I was a little. They'll say rotten, but then they'll say like one that like I saw a rotten one that was possessed. So I'm like, is that just are they just kind of doubling down on what they're saying,
Yeah,
or
it could have been that, or it could have been like the translation or something. Because I know there were a couple of things. It seemed like the translation was messed up a little bit for
hmm
me.
yeah, I would have liked to hear hear this in its original tongue and understand it in its original
Yeah,
tongue,
yeah,
but they there's like rules. There's 7 rules, and I can't name them all off, but it's like people know the rules,
yeah.
and
It's like the
and
grandmother
yeah,
knows
yeah,
is like explaining the rules to a grandchild at like one point in the movie, so you know that this has been going on long enough for her to know this is a thing. And it's like
yeah. There's
they ask
it's
her
like in the
like
culture.
exactly, and they ask her like, "Have you ever encountered one?" She's like, "No, never." Type of thing.
Yeah,
So it's like she's been
just
around
you
this
two
whole time.
crazy.
Yeah. So it's
hmm
like she's been around for this long time. She knows the rules, and it's just like it's not a common thing, I guess.
And speaking of translation things, there's like a little song. Like the son is
That was
asking what's going on, what is a rotten, or what is possession, or whatever. And she's like, well, don't you know the song? And he's like, no. And she's like, oh, it's so very famous. It goes like this. And because
yeah,
it's being translated in English, it's like, oh, you don't know the song? It goes like this. The rotten will get in your brain and control your thoughts, and you'll be like a puppet doing whatever they want. It's like
yeah.
the weirdest. It seems like the
That's
most unsingable song.
and I'm sure it's like very understandable if you understand Spanish and like it makes
hmm
way more sense, but it was very like off.
So like deliberate to the point. Like they peel
Yeah,
your skin off and eat your eyeballs for lunch and whatever.
yeah,
Uh, but yeah, just the world building here I thought was handled really well. Like I said, the acting from everybody just melds into reality, and the thing about this is it just does not hold back in any way from anything.
no,
If you ever have to ask yourself, like, would they really do that? Would they really go that far as to do that? I mean, you got to have some. You can't just put that in a movie. You can put that in a movie.
right.
They did that
So like
and multiple times.
yeah, to speak on the acting and kind of like what you're talking about too, I think is like so the main character has like a couple of children and one of them is like severely nonverbal autistic.
What's this? Mm-hmm.
And I during watching the movie I was like I'm need to look up and see if this kid is like an autistic actor or something, but like he just played it really well from like anything I've experienced, you know?
Yeah, yeah, no, very, very convincing, and the way that plays into the story is I thought interesting and unique.
Yeah.
That we meet this woman who is a former cleaner, and her role in it is certainly interesting. She kind of is like wearing the big boy pants and is like, okay, look, you got to stop being scared. You got to move slowly. You can't do that. You can't shoot them. That's the big thing is you can't shoot them. Anything with gunpowder, anything with electricity.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of rules they have to follow, and I'm sure there's a little bit of fudging. Like they can't really do the no electricity thing at all times. So like they'll like pulse the lights on their car
Yeah.
instead of having them on at all times. And I guess it's kind of like this is the best we can do. So we're just you can't go completely blind driving at night. Um, but what else? What else? There was so much I wanted to say. It was a really as weird as it sounds to say how much I enjoyed this. It's just nice to see like even though the subject matter is so dark and grim, and this thing has some of the sharpest teeth you're gonna find in a movie. Like it reminds me a little bit of what was it? You won't be alone, or no? What is it? What is the movie? The movie with the couple, like the foreign couple, and they befriend that.
Oh,
Uh,
wait. Speak No Evil?
Speak No Evil. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I was getting two movies tangled up in my head, but I was getting a little bit of that vibe because of just like the stark bleakness of it. Like this movie, absolutely, wide-eyed stares into the abyss until it's staring back, and that's like the point.
Yeah.
And like I said, it doesn't shy away from anything, and everybody has a pretty harrowing role to play. Like
Mhm.
everybody is asked a lot of you're gonna have to show some emotion for sure in this movie. And the grandma was like the only little bit of a little bit of relief here and there, but not really comedic relief, just a little bit of lightness in such a dark movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're basically just on the run from essentially an infection that nobody can seem to help themselves from. Right off the bat, I'll say this part. There's a lot. There's more than one example, but like early on, after we meet the first person who is rotten. There's all this talk about you can't use a gun and everything, and they take this rotten. They end up taking this rotten person. I'm skipping a lot of stuff here, but they end up taking this rotten person and dropping them off somewhere, and actually it goes pretty haywire, and
Yeah,
they
it's
don't
pretty
end up knowing.
sideways.
Yeah, they don't end up knowing where he ends up. Like by the time there's a kid in the road or something, they have to swerve, and he's just missing out of the back of the truck. So somewhere around there, they assume around where that kid was, he's on the road, I guess, or whatever. Um, and that's sort of the beginning of everything. But there's a scene where um, kind of our I guess we have two protagonists here, but it feels like the one with the beard is was more so our protagonist.
Yeah.
But they're brothers, and they're both pretty heavily, all throughout the movie. But the bearded brother, his ex-wife is remarried, and they have kids together that she has custody of, and then there's a stepchild with the new husband, and while they're all arguing, and it's a crazy commotion because nobody will believe this guy about this thing, which I'm not taking any points away from this or anything, but it's like we're in a world where everybody knows this is real, but also like no
Yeah.
one will believe this guy no matter what
Well,
he
the thing
says.
is, like, they keep like pointing out the fact that like no, this doesn't happen. It only happens in big cities, and they're saying like we're at the end of the earth. It doesn't happen here, type of
Yeah,
thing. And like that, I will say
but
that's
this ain't
probably
dragons. This ain't it's not like
yeah,
this
yeah.
only happened thousands of years ago.
Like it seems
But
like it's
yeah,
something that could happen to anybody, and that I will say that is one of like the whole rotten thing, not necessarily confusing, but isn't explained to the fullest. Is
hmm
like because there is the one rotten guy that we were talking about that they transport and stuff, and that's where like the epidemic thing comes in. Like the rotten guy is the possessed guy, and then it's like people kind of get possessed
animals start.
animals,
Kind of starts with animals. The dog.
but it's like they're getting possessed because of the rotten, and then other people get possessed because they do stuff to them. Like it,
Well, so it's like you can't really. I mean, it's like you especially can't harm them with guns,
yeah.
but you really can't harm. You really don't want to harm them,
Unless it's
and
a
they.
cleaner that has that special tool that we never really got to
Mhm.
see.
And they know your fears intimately, and so they can like, the same way as like most Exorcist movies can like, um, the demons know intimate details about you and can use that against you and
Right.
get you to, act out of your normal nature. But this is like picking at you, trying to get you to kill it because the best way for it to spread, we're presuming, we do have to work some of this out on our own unless there's some lore that's actually, some folklore that I actually just don't know about that's in our world. But the whole contraption and everything makes me feel like this is all in world
Yeah,
lore.
I
You
think
know what I
so.
mean? Like, and so yeah, if that's the case, we're kind of left to assume that the reason there's something about gunpowder and using a firearm on them that's their favorite way to spread. That's their most effective way to spread, and maybe that's you know maybe there's some subtext here about like some gun control something or something like that. I don't know. This isn't an American movie, but maybe like a gun is just the most evil. Shooting
Right.
someone is the most evil way to kill someone or something like that. I'm not sure, but yeah, I mean, it gets brutal pretty early with the thing with the dog and and the 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 man who kills that dog and his wife and all of that is insane. But I don't
That
want to I don't want to make it seem like the gratuitous gore of all this is like why you should watch this movie either.
nah.
But there is a lot of that. You know,
And it's like
you,
that whole scene with the dog that we're not gonna spoil because like I think if you're a horror fan, watch this movie. And I don't
yeah.
know if it's already just on Shudder. It is a Shudder movie.
I think what they're doing, I think a lot of streaming services are doing this like release it theatrically,
Okay.
even though it's a stream kind of a streaming only thing. Like we're producing it,
Yeah.
but we're gonna give it a little limited window. But I'm glad that they're bringing it to both of our areas because and
I
and my theater was not completely empty. I was thinking this is gonna be an empty theater, and I was glad to see a handful of us in there, and everybody was
same.
was respectful and sat and watched this movie and didn't just talk through it or mess around their phones the whole time or whatever. Like it seemed
Yeah.
like there's a handful of people out there that want this kind of thing, and I'm glad we were a part of giving a few dollars to something like this because
Definitely.
more stuff like this. I haven't. seen anything else by this director, I'm interested. It seems like this is sort of his breakout thing, but there is a kind of short 88-minute movie called Terrified that I'm extremely interested to see if I can find somewhere. And also, did you hear about Satanic Hispanics?
I have heard of that. Yeah, did he do that as well?
Well, I don't know if it's already come out or if it's coming out. If it hasn't come out yet, it's coming out before the end of this year.
Yeah.
But it's like an anthology, like multi-director
Okay.
movie that's all Hispanic directors that are like a horror anthology.
Right.
Uh, and it looks like it could be hit and miss, but I would watch it just to
Well, it's
see
kind of
what this
like
guy contributed.
VHS. So he has a short in it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So it's kind of like VHS where it's all just like a little.
Different directors.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I could say more for sure. There's so much to say, but I really think.
Well, we're gonna talk about it a little more after this video, since we're not doing
Oh yeah,
spoilers.
you want to do that?
I would
Okay.
like to.
Well, then I think that's all you need. That's more than you need to know to watch this movie.
Highly
You should
recommend
go
it.
see it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a fan of
100%.
horror or like just like thriller, suspense, I think this was a fantastic movie.
I'm
Like
hearing
I
a high
said,
number coming
yeah,
from you.
it might be.
What do you think?
Man, I'm gonna give it like a 9. I like this movie a lot.
Yeah, I actually I'll say 9.5.
Damn, yeah.
I mean, I think I gave Talk to Me a 9. So
Right.
I like this even a little more than that. This is one of the top for the year for me. So I'm
And
really
like
glad I found out
especially
about
for
this thing.
being out of nowhere, like you literally texted me last night and you're like, "Hey, I'm thinking about going and seeing this movie. It's getting some buzz." I had heard nothing about this movie, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll go see it tomorrow." And I do not regret that decision.
Yep, stoked, man. What a get. We'll say more. So separate spoiler video coming.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, separate spoiler video coming. It's worth talking. It's worth talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
So stick around for that if you go see the movie. But I would highly recommend don't watch that unless you just have some kind of morbid interest in us talking about a movie that you'd never want to see. I would watch the movie. But yeah, so stick around for that. Hit like on this one if you liked it. Comment below if you've seen this movie for sure, and if you have, stick around for what's coming next. And share this with your friends and hit subscribe if you haven't already. And thanks for watching as always, guys. We'll see you very soon.
Yeah, we'll see you.